everyone, welcome back to another Best Association video. In this video, we are going to discuss about whether or not cash is king during COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia. The phrase cash is king means that cash is considered as the most important form of investment compared to other investment tools like stocks and bonds. Some say that just cash is not enough, and investments are also needed for backup in case an emergency fund is needed. Others say that during the pandemic, cash is indeed king, and therefore, what can be considered are investment instruments that are close to being liquid or can be liquefied when needed, like mutual funds. It is debatable on whether or not cash is king during this unstable economic condition due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The New York Times reported that the Bank of America branch in Manhattan for a short period ran out of $100 bills as customers were withdrawing tens of thousands of dollars at a time. In Indonesia this year, a lot of people choose to sell their assets and prefer to hold cash, which they keep in banks. According to an article from katadata.co.id, Indonesia's ex-Minister of Finance, Mr. Chatip Basri, stated that to maintain finances, people can increase the availability of liquidity funds or cash. Mr. Chatip Basri also stated that we have to have a lot of cash because cash is the king. People need to know when is the right time to use their cash for investments, which in the stock market is when stock prices become cheaper. Many investors and traders are selling everything from stocks to bonds to gold in order to raise cash. According to the Jakarta Post article by Riza Roidila Mufti, currently people are considering the long-term impact the pandemic may have on their finances, and hence, a lot of people now prefer to keep more money for emergency purposes. A consumer confidence survey conducted by Nielsen Research shows that in the first quarter of 2020, the holiday spending of Indonesian consumers has dropped by 6% from the previous quarter to 36%. In addition, consumers' investments in stocks and mutual funds also dropped by 12% from the previous quarter to 34%. Even though the survey data implicitly shows signs that cash is king in Indonesia, some people disagree with the mindset that cash is king. Indonesia's ex-Minister of Communication and Information, Mr. Rudiantara, stated that right now, cash is not only a king. However, cash is king, queen, and jack. Cash can be used to invest in stocks, businesses, or anything that has potential in generating sufficient returns. The Regional Chief Investment Officer of UBS Global Wealth Management, Mr. Kelvin Tay, said that he believes that the tech sector, such as online companies, e-commerce giants, 5G companies, and cloud computing firms, may develop even further and hence can be an opportunity instead of raising cash. Therefore, while some people agree that cash is king during this COVID-19 pandemic, others considered it as an opportunity to gain more in the future to come.
Cash holding is defined by having it available for investments or savings. Sometimes having and keeping cash in hand is regarded as an advantage and disadvantage at times by individual or business owners. Liquid assets are important to have in case there are any emergencies or unexpected expenses. As this pandemic unfolds, companies that hold more cash and are readily available on their balance sheet have been predicted to come out as winners after this pandemic ends. Ever since then, every individual and business owner has tried to withdraw and liquidate their assets. Cash is the king, not only of investors, but of companies as well. Cash can be beneficial, especially during this unprecedented time. Holding cash can be an alternative source when lending from banks becomes more difficult. These internal funds can be used by a firm to cover its spending, pay off debt, replace capital equipment, or finance new investment projects. Firms that hold cash have an advantage because they can continue to operate, replace assets, or may want to continue to expand their business. During an economic downturn, a business with excess capital may use its cash reserves to cover expenses and compensate for declining sales. The best strategies are to look for businesses that have solid balance sheets, fewer debt, healthy cash flow, and a decent dividend yield. On the other hand, cash holding may come with a few downsides. Inflation and investments are some of the things that firm owners and businesses should look and pay attention to in the long run. One of the reasons that someone should be wary about holding excess cash is that it will bleed slowly to death because the after-tax returns are lower than inflation by a little per year. Albeit you receive interest on money deposited in a bank's savings account, the sum is much too low to keep up with inflation's negative impact. Furthermore, inflation may rise faster than these low-yield investments, and although the organization does not lose any money, it loses its spending power. The more cash a business has, the more it will suffer from the negative effects of inflation risk. In conclusion, if a business could act on a product or purchase that will make it possible to make a better return on investment than the current interest rates, it would be better to hold on to the money, as holding to it gives people better and faster access when they want to purchase the product with a better return on investment.
Holding cash is at a cost, which is the opportunity cost of capital invested in liquid assets. Investors prefer to hold cash and put it in a bank in this pandemic due to higher risk and uncertainty of investing stock and bonds, so they can save their asset and enable them to face any unexpected events during the pandemic. However, holding cash means losing opportunities to invest with a higher yield than the bank. Gold is one of the safest investments in market uncertainty during the COVID-19 pandemic and considered a safe haven in which its price is relatively constant compared to other investments during an economic downturn or financial crisis like in the COVID-19 pandemic. From data shown below, if we draw a trend line, the price of gold shows positive growth over the years. Moreover, stock in the healthcare sector also shown profitable. For example, the stock of PT Indofarma Tbk, a pharmaceutical company, had increased by 350% during the pandemic. The sector has a very important role during the pandemic period since people need medicine to improve their antibodies in order to prevent them from being infected by the virus. Investors are confident to put their money in this company, which will have positive performance. So the opportunity cost of holding cash is relatively high.
Thank you for all the resources that have helped us in making this research. Thank you for your attention. See you again on the next Nugget Economics.